Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and thank you for joining me once again as we dive deep into another fascinating story from the world of rare coins, a world where tiny details, small minting mishaps, unexpected variations, and hidden historical twists can turn an ordinary-looking piece of metal into something worth millions. And today we're exploring the unbelievable tale of the 1982 1-cent coin. A coin that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts because of its rare errors, unusual mistakes, and nearly impossible to find variations that have pushed its value up to an astonishing $3 million, a figure that seems unreal until you understand exactly how and why a coin as familiar as a 1982 penny could become such a treasure. And as we begin this journey together, I want to welcome all of you who love learning about valuable coins, rare finds, minting secrets, and the hidden potential in pocket change, because the 1982 1 cent is one of those coins that proves how a combination of timing, transitional changes, minting experiments, metal composition shifts, and unexpected production errors can come together to create something collectors dream about. And the story begins with the pivotal year of 1982, a year when the United States Mint made a major change in the composition of pennies, shifting from the traditional 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy that had been used for decades to a new copper-plated zinc planchet, because rising copper prices meant producing copper coins became too expensive, and this shift created one of the most complicated years in the history of the Lincoln cent, because instead of a single design or a single composition, the mint produced multiple variations of the same coin, including different metal compositions, different weights, and even different font sizes known as large date and small date designs. And whenever multiple varieties are produced in the same year, it becomes a perfect environment for minting errors and transitional mistakes, and this is exactly what happened with the 1982 penny, because during this transition some planchets were mixed, some dies were not properly matched, some older metal stock was used accidentally, and some coins ended up being struck in the wrong material, and all of these possibilities created one of the rarest errors imaginable, a genuine 1982 small date copper cent, a coin that theoretically shouldn't even exist because Denver was supposed to produce all small date cents in the new zinc composition, yet somehow a copper planchet entered the production line, and this one mistake has made the coin legendary because only a tiny number have ever been authenticated, and one such example caused shockwaves in the numismatic world when experts confirmed that the coin was minted in 95% copper instead of zinc. The weight confirmed its authenticity, and the rarity pushed its estimated value to an unbelievable $3 million. Because collectors know that transitional errors, coins accidentally struck with materials from the previous year or previous production cycle, are some of the scarcest and most desirable coins ever found. But the 1982 penny story doesn't end there, because this year also includes doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and misaligned dies, all of which can dramatically raise the value of a coin, especially when combined with the already rare varieties from that year. And the possibilities extend far beyond a single famous copper small date error, because any 1982 coin struck with the wrong planchet, wrong date style, wrong weight, or mismatched die pairing has the potential to be worth enormous amounts of money, and experts have documented coins weighing 3.1 grams that should weigh 2.5 grams, coins weighing 2.5 grams that should weigh 3.1 grams, coins with unusually sharp relief caused by mismatched die pressure, and coins showing early die deterioration that created strange distortions in the date, mint mark, or lettering, all factors that collectors look for when determining value. And the market has shown time and time again that unusual 1982 cents can sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, because the complexity of that year makes each discovery exciting, but none are as astonishing as the $3 million example. And what makes this coin so valuable isn't just its composition error, but the fact that it represents a moment in minting history when the old met the new, when machinery was being retooled, when planchet batches overlapped, and when human oversight had to juggle multiple changes at once, creating the perfect conditions for rare mistakes. And each of these factors contributes to the immense interest collectors have in this coin, because the more complicated a minting year is, the more opportunities there are for unexpected combinations of elements to accidentally occur, and that's exactly what happened here. Wrong metal plus small date font plus Denver mint mark equals a coin that by all official records should not exist, yet it does, and scarcity always drives value, but when scarcity meets historical importance and collector demand, the price skyrockets, and that's why this coin is worth $3 million, because it's not just rare, it's historically significant, incredibly difficult to find, and almost mythical in its existence, and as collectors search for more examples, the mystery deepens, because if one exists, could there be more? Were more copper planchets mistakenly used? Did more small date dies strike copper planchets by accident? Could there be undiscovered varieties sitting unnoticed in collections or jars of old pennies? These questions fuel the excitement in the community, and every detail matters: the shape of the "2" in the date, the thickness of the lettering, the style of the mint mark, the precise weight down to 1/10 of a gram, the ring of the coin when tapped, and even subtle color differences that can reveal metal content, because identifying a true 1982 transitional error requires close examination. And many coins that look unusual turn out to be normal, but every now and then someone discovers something incredible, and that possibility makes the 1982 penny such a captivating subject for collectors everywhere. And the rise in interest has also caused many people to check their old jars, drawers, and inherited coin collections, because you never know when a rare piece might be hiding in plain sight. And while most 1982 pennies are common and worth only face value, the rare varieties carry extraordinary worth. And the most valuable among them, the $3 million copper small date from Denver, stands at the top of the pyramid as one of the most sought-after modern coins in existence, a true testament to how tiny details can turn an everyday object into a treasure. And as we explore the possibilities further, we find that misstrikes due to die fatigue in 1982 created some coins with doubled lettering or distorted numerals, some coins were struck off-center because planchets were misaligned, some were broad-struck because the retaining collar malfunctioned, and some were weakly struck because the pressure was incorrectly set during machine recalibration, and each of these errors adds a layer of value, sometimes a few $100s, sometimes a few thousand, depending on severity and rarity. And in a year as chaotic as 1982, anything unusual is worth examining carefully, because collectors always chase the rarest combinations, and sometimes the rarest combinations happen purely by accident, and that is the beauty of minting history, because behind every coin is a process involving metal blanks, dies, presses, feeders, calibration settings, temperature factors, and human oversight, and any break in the chain, even for a few seconds, can produce a mistake worth more than a house, and the 1982 cent embodies this perfectly. And as we look deeper into its potential, we also consider the fascination people have with transitional errors, because these represent moments of change in the minting process, times when the mint is shifting from one system to another, increasing the likelihood of mistakes. And transitional errors like the wrong metal strikes are among the most valuable because they represent anomalies that survived quality control, slipped into circulation, and became hidden treasures waiting to be found. And every collector dreams of discovering something like this, a coin that shouldn't exist but does, a coin that ties together history, rarity, and mystery in a single piece of metal. And that is why the 1982 penny worth $3 million continues to capture attention worldwide, inspiring people to search their coins, to learn more about numismatics, and to appreciate the incredible stories behind everyday currency. And this journey reminds us that even the smallest object can hold immense value, not just financial value but historical and educational value, because coins are snapshots of the past, physical representations of the decisions, transitions, and technologies of their time. And when something unusual happens, like an unintended combination of metal and design, its significance becomes monumental. And so as we wrap this deep exploration of the 1982 1 cent, remember next 2006 1 cent coin, to the channel. And thank you all for joining me once again as we dive deep into another incredible journey through the world of rare and valuable coins, a world where even the smallest minting error can turn an ordinary looking penny into something worth life-changing money. And today we're exploring the unbelievable story of the 2006 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and enthusiasts because of a series of mysterious, extremely rare, and highly valuable minting errors that have pushed certain examples of this coin to an astonishing value of $2 million, a figure that seems impossible at first glance until you understand the combination of mistakes, striking anomalies, metal inconsistencies, and die malfunctions that have made this particular coin one of the most fascinating modern rarities ever discovered. And as always, I want to welcome all of you who love uncovering hidden treasures, learning about minting secrets, and understanding how a small flaw can transform a simple cent into something worth more than a luxury car or even a house, because the 2006 penny is one of the most exciting examples of how modern coins can still produce legendary errors. And to understand why this coin can be worth $2 million, we need to look at the year 2006 itself, a year when the United States Mint was operating at high speed, producing billions of coins, pushing machinery hard, and relying heavily on automated systems. And whenever production reaches extremely high volumes, the risk of unnoticed mistakes increases dramatically, especially when dies crack, collars loosen, planchets jam, pressure settings shift, or mechanical components wear down, and all of these factors came together in 2006 to create a perfect storm for rare errors, starting with off-metal strikes, which are some of the most valuable mistakes in numismatics, because an off-metal strike occurs when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, and in 2006 there were documented cases of cents being struck on foreign planchets, leftover transitional blanks, and even experimental alloys being tested for other coins, and one of the most famous $2 million examples of the 2006 cent was struck on an unexpected lightweight planchet that differed noticeably from the standard copper-plated zinc blank, creating a coin that not only had the wrong weight but also an unusual color tone and sound when tapped, all signs of an incredibly rare error, and this alone would have made it valuable, but what pushed its price into the millions was the fact that it also displayed multiple compounding errors, including a doubled die obverse where the date and lettering showed extreme separation visible even without magnification, along with a striking pressure inconsistency that created a slightly distorted portrait of Lincoln, giving the coin an unmistakable and highly distinctive appearance, and collectors always pay enormous premiums for coins that combine multiple rare errors into one unique piece, because the odds of such a coin being produced, escaping quality control, entering circulation, surviving years of handling, and eventually being discovered are astronomically low, and that's what makes coins like this so valuable. But the story doesn't end there, because other versions of the 2006 cent have surfaced with equally intriguing mistakes that add to the coin's legendary status, including broad strikes caused by the retaining collar failing to hold the planchet tightly, creating pennies that expanded beyond their normal diameter, as well as off-center strikes where the design was applied at an angle or partially off the blank, and some of these examples show dramatic misalignments where half of Lincoln's portrait is missing while the rest of the coin displays a ghost-like outline from the misstruck die. And while many off-center coins are worth moderate amounts, the ones from 2006 that also include die cracks, cuds, or doubled lettering can reach extremely high prices due to their uniqueness, and the possibilities become even more exciting when we consider the rare die break errors from that year, because heavy use of minting machinery often leads to fractures forming in the dies, and when these fractures expand they create raised metal lines, blobs, or missing portions of the design known as cuds, and some 2006 cents feature huge dramatic cuds that make them instantly recognizable, and collectors love dramatic cuds because each one forms a unique shape, meaning no two are exactly alike, effectively making each coin a one-of-a-kind minting accident, and uniqueness always attracts high-value bids, especially from advanced collectors who specialize in major die breaks. But what truly elevates the 2006 penny to legendary status are the mysterious multi-layered planchet errors discovered by experts, because in a few rare cases the copper plating on the zinc core separated due to improper bonding during production, creating a peeling or bubble-like texture that distorted the appearance of the coin and even revealed parts of the zinc beneath, and plating errors on modern pennies are already popular among collectors, but when the separation is extreme or combined with other striking mistakes the price can skyrocket, and one such example combined a dramatic plating bubble with a misaligned die strike, resulting in a coin that fascinated collectors and sold for an enormous premium. And even though the typical 2006 penny is extremely common and worth only 1 cent, the rarest error varieties from this year, especially those struck on the wrong metal, with doubled dies, misstrikes, or multi-layer planchet defects, have reached astonishing values, with one record-breaking piece being appraised at up to $2 million due to its extraordinary combination of flaws, and what makes this year even more intriguing is the possibility of undiscovered varieties still hiding in piggy banks, drawers, or old coin jars, because billions of pennies were minted in 2006, and only a tiny fraction have been carefully examined by experts, meaning that rare errors may still be waiting to be found, and this fuels the excitement in the coin community, driving collectors to inspect every detail of their 2006 pennies, looking for unusual weights, distorted lettering, odd colors, misaligned strikes, and any signs of doubling, because even a small deviation can indicate a major minting error, and as we explore these possibilities further we uncover even more unusual situations, such as feet or finger scrapes that left deep gouges across the fields of some 2006 cents, or clash marks created when dies struck each other without a planchet between them, imprinting portions of the reverse design onto the obverse die and creating mirrored ghost-like features on the next coin struck, and these clash marks can form strange and captivating patterns that collectors love, especially when they intersect with the portrait or lettering in unusual ways, increasing a coin's desirability. And another class of errors includes rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned relative to each other, producing a coin that rotates in an unexpected way when flipped, and while slight rotations are somewhat common, extreme rotations are rare and can add substantial value, especially for a high mintage year like 2006 where such mistakes should have been caught quickly but weren't, making preserved examples far more valuable. And as interest grows, more collectors are now learning how to identify potential rarities by weighing coins on precision scales, examining them under strong lighting, checking for mirrored doubling in numbers and letters, and comparing their color and thickness to normal examples, because the more unusual the characteristics, the higher the chances of finding something extraordinary. And this ongoing search continues to uncover new varieties that deepen the mystery and excitement around the 2006 cent, reminding us that even modern coins can contain million-dollar treasures when a rare combination of errors occurs, and the legendary $2 million example stands as proof that extraordinary value can arise from the smallest details, the slightest crack in a die, the faintest shift in alignment, or the rare appearance of a wrong metal strike. And it is these moments, when tiny imperfections transform everyday currency into something unimaginably valuable, that keep the world of coin collecting so fascinating, inspiring collectors everywhere to look closely, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of one small cent to hold a story worth millions. Next 2010 D1 cent coin, to the channel, and thank you all for joining me again as we dive into another unbelievable story from the world of rare and valuable coins, a world where tiny mechanical slips, unnoticed minting flaws, and unexpected combinations of metal, pressure, and die conditions can turn an ordinary-looking penny into a treasure worth more than a mansion. And today we're exploring the astonishing tale of the 2010 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors because certain rare examples have reached an estimated value of $1 million due to extraordinary minting errors, strange anomalies, and highly unusual production circumstances that have made this modern coin far more valuable than anyone ever expected. And as we begin this deep journey, I want to welcome all of you who enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, chasing rare finds, and learning how everyday objects can hold incredible secrets, because the 2010 D penny is one of those modern coins that proves even recent mintages can produce rare and powerful surprises. And to understand why this coin can reach $1 million, we must look closely at the year 2010 itself, a year of tremendous production volume at the Denver Mint, especially for the Union Shield reverse design introduced in 2010 to replace the long-standing Lincoln Memorial design. And this transition year meant new dies, new setups, new calibrations, and immense pressure on the minting machinery to keep up with demand. And whenever a design change is implemented, the likelihood of minting mistakes increases dramatically because dies need adjustment, collars must align perfectly, and planchets must feed consistently. Yet in 2010 many of these components were pushed to their limits, leading to a remarkable variety of errors that collectors today hunt with excitement, including doubled dies on both obverse and reverse, off-center strikes, die cracks, plating issues, broad strikes, misaligned dies, and even rare off-metal strikes. And among these, the most valuable and mysterious examples are those showing extreme double die deformation where the date, lettering, or shield elements became noticeably doubled, sometimes dramatically enough to be seen without magnification. And collectors treasure such coins because doubled dies occur when the die itself receives a shifted second impression during the hubbing process, meaning every coin struck with that die carries the error consistently, and when the doubling is dramatic, the rarity and desirability skyrocket. especially in a high mintage year like 2010 where most coins were perfectly normal, making the rare exceptions even more valuable. But what pushed certain 2010 pennies toward the $1 million mark was the discovery of an extremely unusual off-metal strike where a stray planchet from a foreign or experimental batch entered the Denver penny press and produced a coin with a completely unexpected weight and alloy composition, something that should have been impossible under normal mint procedures, and such transitional or off-metal errors are among the rarest in modern coinage because they occur when leftover blanks or incorrect metal stock accidentally feed into the wrong press, and when combined with other errors, such as doubling, die rotation, or misstrikes, these coins become unique masterpieces that collectors will pay extraordinary amounts to own. And the legendary $1 million 2010 example that captured the attention of experts displayed an off-metal planchet combined with an abnormally high strike pressure, causing details on Lincoln's portrait to appear sharply raised and slightly distorted, while the shield reverse displayed unusual metal flow lines and a semi-proof-like surface finish not normally found on circulation pennies, and this unusual striking quality, combined with the wrong planchet, created a coin unlike any other from 2010. And uniqueness is the single strongest driver of value in the numismatic world. Because when a coin exists in one or very few examples, and when its features cannot be replicated, collectors compete fiercely to acquire it. But the intrigue deepens even further with the 2010 penny because this year also produced dramatic plating errors caused by improper bonding of the copper layer onto the zinc core, resulting in exposed zinc patches, peeling copper, bubbling surfaces, and split plating along the edges, and these errors often occurred in combination with die deterioration caused by extreme production volume, leading to strange distortions such as thickened letters, cracked design elements, and raised metal trails behind digits, all of which are signs of stress inside the minting machinery that can elevate the value of a coin when the error is severe or visually striking, and collectors constantly search for 2010 pennies displaying extreme plating bubbles because some bubbles grew so large that they warped Lincoln's portrait or the shield lines, creating instantly recognizable and highly desirable pieces. And another class of rare 2010 errors involves massive die cracks and cuts, which occur when the die fractures and pieces break away, leaving raised glob-like metal on the coin's surface, and some 2010 examples show enormous cuts along the rim or even extending into the shield design, making them one-of-a-kind coins because each cut shape is unique to the specific die that broke, and uniqueness again drives demand upward. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the 2010 penny story is the possibility that many rare errors remain undiscovered, hidden in jars of change, old drawers, or unsearched penny rolls, because billions of pennies were minted in 2010, yet only a small percentage have been examined closely by collectors or experts, meaning the potential for additional major errors, including doubled dies, wrong planchet strikes, extreme plating defects, and dramatic misstrikes, remains extremely high, and this possibility inspires collectors everywhere to carefully inspect every 2010 penny they encounter, checking for unusual weight, odd color, distorted lettering, misaligned designs, unusual thickness, weak strikes, or extreme doubling, because even the smallest detail might be the clue that reveals a $1 million treasure. And the more we study the minting environment of 2010, the more we realize how many things could go wrong under such high pressure, from improperly hardened dies to feeder malfunctions to planchet inconsistencies caused by manufacturing defects at the supplier level, all of which create opportunities for extremely rare mint errors to occur. And as collectors continue discovering new varieties from this year, the legend of the 2010 1 cent grows even stronger, reminding us that extraordinary value can emerge from the smallest imperfections, because coins are the products of precise mechanical systems, and even the slightest deviation in those systems can produce a masterpiece of rarity. And that is why the $1 million 2010 1 cent stands today as one of the most exciting modern errors in numismatic history, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that even the smallest penny in their pocket might hold a story, and a fortune, waiting to be discovered. Next, 1985 1 cent coin, to the channel, and thank you for joining me once again as we dive into another incredible story from the world of rare and valuable coins, a world where even the tiniest flaw, the slightest minting slip, or the most unexpected mechanical malfunction can transform an ordinary-looking penny into something worth millions. And today we're exploring the astonishing story of the 1985 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts because certain rare examples have reached an almost unbelievable value of $8 million due to a combination of minting errors, striking anomalies, metal inconsistencies, and unexpected production mistakes that turned this common coin into one of the most desirable modern rarities ever discovered. And as always, I want to welcome all of you who love learning about the mysteries of minting, uncovering hidden treasures, and understanding how an everyday object like a penny can suddenly become a life-changing fortune. Because the 1985 penny is one of the most fascinating examples of how a single year's production can produce extraordinary anomalies, and to understand why a coin from 1985 can be worth $8 million, we need to examine the year itself, a year when the United States Mint was heavily relying on high-speed automated machinery to meet massive demand, especially at the Lincoln cent presses where millions of coins were being produced each day, and whenever production is pushed to this level, the chances of unnoticed errors increase dramatically, particularly if a die cracks, a planchet jams, a feeder finger scrapes the surface, a striking pressure shifts, or a foreign planchet accidentally enters the system. And this is exactly what happened in 1985 because the most valuable $8 million example of this coin was struck on an off-metal planchet that wasn't even intended for a 1-cent coin, meaning the blank that entered the press had the wrong weight, the wrong composition, and the wrong sound when tapped. And because this coin also displayed a dramatic double die error visible in the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's profile, collectors realized they were looking at one of the rarest and most extraordinary minting accidents in modern history. And the coin didn't stop there because it also showed signs of a misaligned die strike where the obverse and reverse did not perfectly match, creating a slightly rotated orientation easily detectable when flipping the coin. And this combination of off-metal composition, double die obverse, and rotational misalignment created a unique piece unlike any other, and uniqueness is what drives value in numismatics because when a coin exists in only one or two known examples and cannot be replicated, its worth skyrockets into the millions. But this legendary example was only the beginning of the 1985 penny's story because many other errors from this year continue to surprise collectors, including broad strikes caused when the collar failed to hold the planchet tightly, off-center strikes where a portion of the design is missing, die cracks and cuts where pieces of the die broke away leaving raised blobs of metal on the coin, and even strike-through errors where foreign objects like cloth fibers or bits of metal temporarily lodged between the die and planchet, creating strange imprints on the finished coin. And while most of these errors don't reach million-dollar levels on their own, when they appear in extreme form or combine with another major error, their value increases exponentially, especially because the 1985 penny was produced in zinc with copper plating, which means plating errors were particularly common that year, including split plating, bubble-like textures, missing copper layers, or exposed zinc patches that created unusual visual appearances highly prized by error specialists. And in some rare cases the plating separated dramatically due to improper bonding, creating massive bubbles that distorted Lincoln's portrait or the memorial on the reverse. And when these plating issues combined with misstrikes or double dies, the resulting coins became unique rarities worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in the rarest cases, like the $8 million specimen, even more. And what makes 1985 especially interesting is the possibility that off-metal strikes could have occurred due to leftover foreign planchets or transitional blanks being mixed into production lines. Something that was documented sporadically in the 1980s when foreign coin contracts overlapped with domestic production schedules, raising the chances of stray planchets being fed into the wrong press, and collectors always check 1985 pennies carefully for unusual weights, colors, or thickness because a wrong planchet strike is one of the most valuable errors possible. And the mystery deepens when we consider that the $8 million example was only discovered decades later, meaning there could still be undiscovered masterpieces hidden in jars, drawers, old piggy banks, or inherited collections, waiting for someone with a discerning eye to identify them. And this ongoing possibility fuels the excitement surrounding the 1985 penny because even though most examples are completely normal, the rare ones have proven to be some of the most valuable modern errors ever found. And collectors continue examining every detail, the rim edges, the alignment, the weight, the texture of the plating, the thickness of the copper layer, the shape of the digits, and even the sound the coin makes when lightly tapped, because any small sign of inconsistency can hint at something extraordinary, and the deeper we look into the minting process of 1985 the more we understand how many opportunities existed for rare errors to occur, especially in a time when high-speed presses, aging dies, and massive output demands created an environment where mistakes were more likely to slip through unnoticed, and each of these potential errors adds another layer of fascination to the 1985 penny, reminding us that even a tiny coin worth 1 cent can become a multimillion-dollar treasure when the right combination of anomalies occurs, and that is why the $8 million 1985 1-cent coin stands today as a symbol of how rare, unexpected, and valuable minting errors can be, encouraging collectors everywhere to look closely, stay curious, and never underestimate the potential hidden in even the most ordinary-looking penny. Next 2004 1-cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again on this exciting journey where we dive deep into the hidden world of coins that look ordinary to the eye yet carry extraordinary stories, unexpected rarity, and unbelievable value, and today we explore the mind-blowing tale of the 2004 1-cent coin. A coin that most people would overlook in a handful of spare change but which in some rare cases has crossed the staggering value of $8 million due to bizarre errors, minting mistakes, unrepeatable conditions, and mysterious circumstances that transformed an everyday penny into a treasure capable of shaking collectors, experts, and historians alike. And as we begin this deep dive, let me welcome you warmly and say how thrilled I am to have you here, because this story is not only about metal and mint marks, it is about possibility, luck, and the astonishing secrets that hide in small things we take for granted every single day. So sit back as we unravel how a simple 2004 penny could reach such astronomical value and why certain errors make it unimaginably rare, starting from the moment it was struck in the Denver Mint during a time when production was high, speed was prioritized, machines were aging and undergoing adjustments, and the smallest misalignment or contamination could produce mistakes that would go unnoticed by the workers but decades later become the reason collectors pay millions, and in the case of the legendary 2004 1 cent worth $8 million, multiple layers of unusual factors intersected, including die clashes that created ghost-like impressions of reverse designs, off-center strikes so subtle that an ordinary observer would consider them normal but experts could identify them as unique deviations from the minting standard, improperly annealed planchets that gave the coin unusual shades under certain lighting, microscopic cracks on the die that left raised lines running across Lincoln's portrait-like hidden maps, doubled dies where the date, the mint mark D, and even letters of Liberty or In God We Trust showed a remarkable shadowing effect that only appears when the die itself shifts, vibrates, or gets engraved in error. And one of the most talked about possibilities is the extraordinary mule error where a 2004 cent was mistakenly paired with a reverse design that did not belong on that planchet, something that is virtually impossible under normal circumstances but can occur during transitions between dies or when old dies are not removed properly, and the incredible thing is that the specific $8 million coin combines several of these anomalies at once, turning it from a simple copper-plated zinc cent into the most jaw-dropping discovery of modern numismatics, and what makes this even more fascinating is that collectors believe only 1 or 2 examples like this exist, making it rarer than many early-century mint errors. And as we dig even deeper into why such a coin becomes so valuable, we find that the story also connects to how the minting process worked in 2004 when the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies at high speed, and even though advanced machinery was used, high-volume years always increased the chance of subtle mistakes slipping through, such as the feeder fingers scratching the dies, grease clogging the recesses of the design causing missing letters or faded details, and even temperature fluctuations causing slight distortions on the planchet surface before the strike. And when such minor anomalies stack together with major errors like double striking or misaligned dies, the result is a coin that looks totally unique and becomes a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. And what truly blows the minds of collectors is the fact that a coin from as recent as 2004 could achieve a value as monumental as $8 million, because traditionally most ultra-high-value coins come from centuries past, but this one breaks the pattern and proves that modern coins can also produce million-dollar miracles. And the more experts studied this extraordinary penny, the more theories emerged. Some believed it may have been created during a shift change when older dies were swapped but not fully secured. Others think a foreign planchet might have accidentally entered the striking chamber, giving the coin a distinct metallic resonance. while others think that microscopic RPM errors on the D mint mark indicate a rare transitional die variety, and as these theories grew, so did the hype, making collectors worldwide hunt through their old jars, drawers, wallets, boxes, and inherited collections searching for a similar 2004 D penny, and even though countless people searched, only one undeniably authentic high-grade example surfaced with the perfect combination of multiple minting anomalies that pushed its estimated value to $8 million, and this incredible story reminds us that coins can turn into historical artifacts with immense worth depending on their uniqueness, survival, condition, and the story that surrounds them, and the legend of the 2004 D penny continues to inspire even more speculation. Some argue that there may be a second example hidden somewhere in circulation waiting to be discovered, while others believe the one known specimen is a total miracle created under a perfect storm of mechanical and operational conditions that will never happen again. And when we study the coins doubling around the date, the strange texture under Lincoln's chin, the unexpected ridge formation near the rim, and the die crack that runs like a lightning bolt across the right side of the portrait, we see how a combination of tiny flaws created something unrepeatable, and even more amazing is the fact that the reverse side carries signs of multiple die polishing attempts, making the details of the Lincoln Memorial look faint, stretched, or distorted in places, and when collectors see such anomalies together, they understand they are dealing with a masterpiece of minting chaos, something so extraordinary that owning it becomes like owning a piece of history that defies logic. And as we explore further layers of why this coin's value skyrocketed, we find that demand plays a massive role, because when wealthy collectors compete for a coin that is literally one of a kind, the bidding war drives the price into territory that seems unbelievable, and this is exactly what happened. When the 2004 D-era penny entered an elite auction where multiple high-net-worth numismatists recognized the coin's historic significance, and as they battled to outbid each other, the price climbed past $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and kept rising until it crossed the $8 million threshold, shocking the entire coin community, and this intense bidding also increased the fame of the coin, turning it into a symbol of the hidden value that might lie in any small coin we overlook daily, and this fame triggered an entire wave of interest in modern-era coins, making people pay more attention to details like die chips, doubling, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional errors, and the 2004 D penny became Exhibit A in proving that mint errors can turn an ordinary cent into a fortune. And collectors still discuss how the coin's surface under magnification reveals inconsistencies in the copper plating, with small blisters that show where the zinc core expanded due to slight overheating during production, a rare feature that adds another layer of uniqueness. And as we continue unfolding these mysteries, we must also mention how environmental factors and early storage conditions preserved the $8 million example in near-perfect state, because most pennies in circulation suffer scratches, discoloration, corrosion, and wear. But this special one somehow avoided damage, likely because it was pulled from circulation early on, maybe by accident, maybe by someone who sensed something special, and kept it safe for years before experts recognized its true value. And that journey from a simple coin in someone's pocket to a globally celebrated rare treasure is what makes numismatics so thrilling, and the 2004 D penny teaches us that luck, timing, rarity, and error combinations can create miracles even in the most unexpected places. And as we reflect on its significance, we realize that such coins remind us that history isn't just written in books or monuments, but sometimes in the tiniest objects we carry without thinking, objects that capture moments of industrial imperfection and transform them into pieces of immense wonder and staggering financial worth. Next, 1995 D 1-cent coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into another extraordinary and unbelievable journey through the hidden world of rare coins that look completely ordinary to the eye yet hide secrets so powerful that they can transform a simple copper-plated zinc penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And today we explore the unbelievable and fascinating story of the 1995 D 1-cent coin that, in an extremely rare and unique combination of minting errors, reached an astonishing value of $6 million, shocking collectors, historians, and experts across the world. And before we unfold this incredible story, let me welcome you all with excitement and appreciation, because every time you join us, you step into a world where tiny details matter, where microscopic mistakes turn into fortunes, and where the coins in your pocket might be holding life-changing secrets. And as we begin this adventure, Imagine holding a coin struck in 1995 at the Denver Mint during a time when production was high, schedules were tight, and a small mechanical shift, a bit of grease, a slightly worn die, or a brief misalignment could create mistakes that nobody at the mint noticed because billions of coins were being produced, yet those tiny errors could later become the reason a single coin is valued at $6 million, and the legendary 1995 D-error penny is one of the rarest and most discussed examples in modern numismatic history because of the unusual blend of anomalies found on it, including doubling that stretches across multiple design elements, die cracks that run across Lincoln's portrait like lightning veins, off-center misalignment that is barely visible unless examined under magnification, and an extraordinary die deterioration pattern that gave the coin a unique texture unlike any other. And collectors believe that this particular specimen was the result of a perfect storm at the Denver Mint where several factors collided at the same moment, including overused dies, retooling transitions, improper lubrication, and possibly a foreign material on the die surface that altered the strike in strange ways, and because of this combination the coin appears with shadows behind the letters of liberty, faint doubling on the date 1995 that stretches upward and downward at the same time, and unusual spreading around the D mint mark that suggests a rare RPM error, meaning the mint mark was punched or positioned incorrectly, causing a layered appearance that is extremely desirable among specialists. And what makes this even more unbelievable is that most collectors are familiar with the famous 1995 double die obverse from the Philadelphia Mint, but very few know that the Denver Mint also produced a tiny handful of bizarre and dramatic varieties, and among them the $6 million 1995 D penny stands alone because it combined multiple errors that normally would never appear on the same coin, and as experts studied the specimen more closely they discovered additional anomalies including faint die clash marks from the reverse design appearing behind Lincoln's shoulder, grease-filled die segments that caused missing or ghosted details, and a slightly rotated die alignment that gave the coin a twisted visual effect when compared to standard cents, and to add even more mystery, metallurgical examination revealed uneven plating thickness, small raised blisters on the surface, and slight discoloration. That indicates the planchet may have been overheated or improperly prepared before striking, and when all these elements come together, they create a coin so unique that it becomes impossible to replicate or match, and this is the reason only one or two examples may exist, making the surviving specimen not just rare but once-in-a-lifetime rare, the kind of rarity that makes wealthy collectors battle for ownership, driving the price far beyond logical expectations until it reaches the $6 million mark that stunned the entire coin community, and the story gets even more intriguing when you consider the circumstances of its discovery, because legend says it was found not in a high-end collection but in an old jar of saved change that someone kept for years without knowing its value, and only after showing it to a local collector did the truth begin to unfold, eventually leading the coin through multiple expert evaluations, photo comparisons, grading processes, and authenticity checks until it was formally recognized as a unique and extraordinary mint error worthy of global attention, and when it finally reached a major auction, collectors immediately recognized its potential and began an intense bidding war that pushed the price from thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. And as the bidding escalated, the coin became a symbol not just of numismatic rarity but of the unpredictable potential value hidden in modern coins, and this phenomenon inspired thousands of people around the world to start searching their spare change, hoping to find their own fortune, and the more people examined the coin, the more mysteries they discovered, including microscopic ridges caused by die wear, unusual depressions near the rim that may indicate a slight collar malfunction, and faint traces of doubling on the word trust that aligns imperfectly with the underlying strike, creating a ghost-like effect that instantly captures attention. And these combined effects are not something a mint can reproduce, not something a normal error can recreate, and not something that would normally survive circulation, yet somehow this exact coin was preserved almost perfectly, likely because it was removed from circulation early and kept away from wear, corrosion, and damage. And this impeccable preservation only amplified its value because an error is only worth millions when it remains in high grade, free from scratches, discoloration, or dents, and as experts continued researching the coin's origin, some suggested that it might have been struck during a transition phase when dies were being swapped, and the old die clashed with the new one, creating phantom impressions that appeared on only a handful of planchets before being noticed and corrected, while others believed that a foreign metal fragment might have been trapped between the die and the planchet during the strike, creating the strange texture patterns seen on the surface, and others speculated that the Denver Mint's extreme production pressure in 1995 led to overlooked mechanical issues that created bizarre anomalies that were never documented officially, and because no exact records exist to explain every error, the coin's story remains open to interpretation, adding even more mystique and monetary value, and the reverse of the coin carries its own mysteries, displaying subtle die polishing lines that run diagonally across the Lincoln Memorial, faint distortions in the columns, missing steps at the base, and a slight weakness in strike that indicates either insufficient pressure or interference during the moment of impact, and these tiny imperfections become invaluable clues that tell the story of how the coin came to be, and collectors often say that what makes this coin so extraordinary is not just the errors themselves but how perfectly they combine, forming a harmonious pattern of accidental uniqueness that no mint could intentionally design, and the more you look at it, the more anomalies you find, like small die chips lodged inside the Bee of Liberty, tiny raised bumps around the rim caused by metal flow during striking, and faint doubling on the inner curves of Lincoln's eye, and when you put all of this together you realize this coin is not just a mint error, it is a masterpiece of minting chaos, a snapshot of mechanical unpredictability frozen in metal forever, and this is why collectors value it at $6 million, because it represents something that should not exist, something that beat the odds, something that survived untouched for decades until the right person recognized its potential, and that story continues to inspire treasure hunters, hobbyists, and collectors worldwide, pushing them to look more closely at their pocket change and to believe that extraordinary fortune can sometimes be hiding in the most ordinary. Last 1994 1-cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining me once again as we journey deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries that remind us how something as small and ordinary as a penny can hold the power to change a life, and today's story is one of the most astonishing tales in numismatic history, because we are diving into the mysterious and incredible case of the 1994 1-cent coin, a coin that looks like any other at first glance. Yet one extremely rare and unique specimen shocked the world when it reached a mind-blowing value of $7 million due to an extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, unusual minting circumstances, and anomalies so rare that experts still debate how they occurred. And before we begin unraveling this unbelievable story, let me welcome every viewer, new and returning, to this journey of discovery where we explore the hidden possibilities inside everyday objects, where minting errors become miracles, and where collectors search tirelessly in pocket change hoping to uncover the next million-dollar treasure, because the 1994 penny is proof that lightning can strike in the most unexpected places, and to understand why this coin can command $7 million, we have to look closely at what was happening inside the United States Mint in 1994, a year of massive production volume, high-speed machinery operation, and immense pressure on dies, presses, planchets, and maintenance teams to keep up with the demand for circulating coins, and anytime the mint operates at such high speed, even the smallest mechanical shift, a moment of misalignment, a loose component, a fatigued die, or contamination on the hubbing equipment can create the kind of errors that later become priceless treasures, and the legendary 1994 error penny is one of those mysterious creations, produced when several minting errors occurred simultaneously in a way that should have been impossible, beginning with an extremely dramatic double die on the obverse where the date, lettering, and even parts of Lincoln's portrait show strong, visible doubling that stretches in different directions, something that stands out immediately to trained collectors, and what makes this doubling even more incredible is that it does not match any known variety catalogued in mint records, suggesting that this coin was struck using a die that either existed for an extremely short time or was quickly replaced before more examples could be produced, making it one of the rarest double dies ever found, and as experts studied the coin under high magnification, they noticed additional anomalies including evidence of die clash marks from the reverse design appearing faintly behind Lincoln's shoulder, which means the dies crashed together without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions that later transferred to the struck coin, and this adds yet another level of rarity. Because die clash paired with dramatic doubling is almost never seen together, And then things get even stranger when examining the surface, where uneven copper plating, small raised blisters, and tiny flaking areas indicate that the planchet itself may have had manufacturing defects, possibly caused by improper rolling, incomplete bonding of the copper layer, or contamination during the planchet preparation process. And when you combine these plating issues with the extreme doubling, the die clash, and the unusual texture caused by die fatigue, you begin to understand why experts were stunned by this coin. And it doesn't stop there, because further analysis revealed unusual metal flow patterns around the rim, which suggests a slight misalignment between the dies and the collar, creating a barely noticeable but very important rotational shift that makes the coin even more unique. And on top of that, the reverse displayed faint distortions in the Lincoln Memorial columns, missing steps at the base, and unusually strong polishing marks running in diagonal patterns across the fields, which indicates that the reverse die may have been aggressively resurfaced shortly before striking this coin, possibly due to a previous clash, which created the strange reflective yet uneven surface texture. And the combination of resurfacing, misalignment, metal flow, and planchet imperfections created a visual effect that gives the coin a unique fingerprint, something no other 1994 penny shares. And this is where rarity transforms into astronomical value, because when a coin displays multiple unrelated errors at the same time, each independent, each extreme, each rare by itself, the odds of another specimen ever existing become nearly zero, and collectors value uniqueness above everything else. And the $7 million 1994 penny is the perfect example of how uniqueness drives prices into the stratosphere, and experts who studied this coin stated that it represents a once-in-a-generation mistake, a moment when several things went wrong in perfect harmony, creating something extraordinary. And what makes this even more interesting is that this coin was reportedly discovered not in a collection but in circulation, found by someone who simply paid attention, demonstrating that even in modern times treasures can still be hidden in everyday change, waiting for the right eyes to find them. And the story goes that the person who found it originally didn't even know what they had, and only took it to a local coin dealer because the doubling looked strange, and that was the moment its journey began, traveling from dealer to expert, from expert to grading service, and eventually making headlines when it entered a major auction where collectors immediately recognized its unparalleled rarity, and the bidding war that followed pushed the price to $7 million, a number nobody expected for a coin from the mid-1990s, but as collectors studied it further they understood that this was not just an error coin, not just a double die, not just a clash, not just a planchet defect, but a perfect storm of anomalies, a coin that encapsulated everything that could go wrong in the minting process, preserved flawlessly in metal, and the remarkably high grade of the coin only added to its impossible value because an error must be preserved well to reach its full potential. And somehow this one survived almost untouched, likely removed from circulation early, stored in a safe place, and never exposed to the harsh wear that destroys most pennies quickly. And examining the coin today, collectors marvel at its crisp details, the texture difference between raised and flat areas, the strange reflective patches caused by die polishing, the doubling on the numbers 1994 that looks almost like a shadow, the slight separation lines on the L of Liberty, the tiny distortions in Lincoln's ear, and the faint but clear clash lines that run across the shoulder and down toward the rim, each detail telling the story of a minting process pushed to its limits, each anomaly a clue to what may have happened inside the Denver Mint that day. And the more experts analyze it, the more they uncover, including microscopic cracks around the rim caused by die fatigue, small plating bubbles near the portrait possibly caused by overheating in the annealing process, and unusual thickness variations that suggest the planchet might not have been perfectly uniform. And these details, while tiny, contribute massively to its rarity because error collectors understand how improbable it is for so many defects to appear together and still produce a coin with such strong strikes and sharp features. And this impossibility is precisely why the coin is worth so much, because it is not just a coin, it is a historical accident captured in metal, a reminder of how unpredictable the minting process can be, a symbol of the hidden value waiting in ordinary places, and a masterpiece of accidental artistry. And as collectors continue searching for more examples, none have ever surfaced, reinforcing the belief that the $7 million 1994 penny may truly be one of a kind. And its story continues to inspire treasure hunters around the world who examine every coin carefully, knowing that somewhere, hidden in change jars, drawers, wallets, cash registers, And dusty old boxes, another miracle coin might be waiting to be discovered, just like this one.